The medical station Astra 7 floated quietly above the silver clouds of Varine 4, but inside its metal walls there was nothing quiet at all. For almost 2 days straight, alarms had screamed, doors had slammed open, and medics had run from one emergency to another. Now, after 48 hours of non-stop chaos, the station corridors finally began to fall silent. Medic Elias Rourke walked slowly through the hall, each step heavy like he was dragging a mountain behind him. His eyes burned with exhaustion, and even the soft overhead lights felt too bright. He rubbed his forehead, trying to stay awake. He had gone past tired. He was in a place where everything felt strange and unreal. He checked the time on the wall panel and sighed. "Only one last wing," he whispered. "Then I sleep for a week." His voice echoed weakly in the empty hallway. The long battle between human explorers and the mysterious Drakari, a race of cyber-enhanced dragons, had filled the station with injured soldiers and damaged machines. Elias had treated burns from plasma blasts, fractures from heavy claws, and strange energy wounds no human textbook had ever mentioned. More than once he had worked on patients while half sleeping, guided only by instinct and training. But this shift was finally ending. Only a few routine checks remained in the quarantine wing, and then he could collapse into a bed. Elias reached the security door and placed his hand on the scanner. The panel flickered, beeped, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Cold, sterile air brushed against his face. Quarantine always felt too quiet, too clean, too bright. It was where the rare, dangerous, or unknown cases were kept, patients who needed more than normal treatment. Most rooms were empty now. He had already discharged several stabilized patients or moved them to recovery. Only one room at the very end showed an active life sign reading. "Just one," Elias muttered. "Good. I can handle one." He dragged his feet down the long hallway and stopped at quarantine room 19. The panel outside showed a single small life signature, weak but steady. The log said juvenile organism, unknown species, injuries stable but unresponsive. Elias barely remembered the patient arriving. Everything in the last 2 days had blurred together. He pressed the door control. It slid open, and he stepped inside. At first glance, the room looked empty. The lights were dimmed, the machines hummed softly, and nothing moved. Elias frowned and rubbed his eyes. Maybe he was in the wrong room. Then he heard it. A small, soft sound. A whimper. Elias followed the sound to the far corner. There, curled on a padded medical bed, was a tiny creature no larger than a medium-sized dog. It had silver scales, though they were dull and cracked. Thin metal lines, cybernetic implants, ran along its neck and down its sides. Its wings were folded tight against its body, and its long tail was wrapped around itself like it was trying to hide. It was a Drakari hatchling. Elias's heart skipped. The Drakari were fierce, proud, and powerful. Each adult one was the size of a car, with armor-hard scales and advanced cybertech fused into their biology. But this little creature looked fragile, too thin, too scared. He checked the room file again. It only said unidentified juvenile, collected during field evacuation. No communication attempt. Elias shook his head. Poor thing. They must have pulled you out of the battle zone. He approached the bed slowly. The hatchling made another tiny sound, a mix between a cry and a cough. Its chest rose and fell fast, showing stress. Elias frowned and checked the monitors. Vital signs were weak but holding. Body heat low, implants unstable. "All right, little one," Elias whispered. "Let's take a look at you." He reached out to adjust the thermal blanket covering the small dragon. And then, the hatchling lifted its head slightly. Tears ran down from its bright violet eyes. It looked straight at him, and in a trembling, broken voice, it spoke a human word. "Help!" Elias froze. He didn't breathe. He didn't blink. He didn't move at all. His mind simply stopped working. Drakari hatchlings weren't supposed to speak human languages. Most adult Drakari refused to speak them at all. And a baby, barely a few months old, shouldn't have had the vocal strength or the translation implant skill. But this one had spoken. Clearly, fearfully, like a scared child calling for comfort. For the first time in years, Elias felt pure shock run through him. A moment passed, another. Then his brain finally restarted, stumbling like someone waking from a dream. You can talk?" he whispered. The little dragon's wings trembled. "Help, please," it cried softly in a voice full of pain. Elias's chest tightened. He took a slow breath, forcing his training back into focus. Okay, I hear you. It's all right. I'm here." He stepped closer and knelt beside the bed. The hatchling flinched slightly but didn't pull away. It looked too weak to move much. "My name is Elias," he said gently. "I'm a medic. I want to help you. Can you tell me your name?" The dragon blinked slowly, as if gathering strength. Its metal implants flickered with unstable light. "Sira," it whispered. Elias smiled softly. "Sira, that's a beautiful name." Sira curled in tighter, shaking. "Cold. It hurts." Elias checked the implant readings again. He had seen Drakari tech biology before, but only on adult warriors, and even then he was never allowed to touch it. But Sira's implants were sparking faintly, flickering between online and offline. That wasn't normal. That was dangerous. He frowned. "Your implants are malfunctioning. That's why you're cold. That's why everything hurts." Sira whimpered, pressing her head into the blanket. Elias's exhaustion faded as concern grew inside him. This wasn't a normal medical case. This was a young member of a species normally hostile to humans. And she was in pain. Serious pain. "Who brought you here?" he asked softly. Sira shook her head weakly. "Lost, loud noises, fire, sky, fell, then dark." She spoke slowly, struggling for every word. It didn't sound like she had full language training yet, but the translation chip must have activated just enough. Elias sighed. So she had been caught in the middle of the battle between humans and the Drakari. Through all the fear and shock, she had somehow ended up on the human medical station. "Well," Elias murmured, "you're safe now. No one here will hurt you." Sira opened her eyes again, staring at him with a mixture of hope and fear. "Promise?" Elias felt something twist inside his chest. She was so small, so frightened. In her eyes, he didn't see the fierce warriors the Drakari were famous for. He saw a child. "I promise," he said quietly. Sira relaxed slightly, though her breathing was still quick and shallow. Elias stood and tapped his wrist pad to bring up his available tools. He reached for a portable scanner and directed it at her implants. Data filled his display: unstable neural feedback, overheating circuits, misaligned integration nodes. He frowned deeper. "This is worse than I thought," he whispered to himself. "If this continues, she'll... No, I can't let that happen." The problem was clear. Her cybernetic implants were overloading her undeveloped nervous system. Without proper Drakari knowledge, it was nearly impossible to treat safely. But she was a patient, a child. Elias had saved humans, aliens, machines, anything alive enough to need help. This was no different. He crouched down again. "Sira, I need to stabilize your implants. It might feel strange, but I'll move slowly. Can I do that?" Sira hesitated, then nodded shakily. "Hurts less, please." Elias began working with careful hands. He used a cooling patch to lower the implant temperature. He adjusted the blanket to keep her warm. He applied a nanogel patch near a flickering node to reduce electrical feedback. Each step required steady hands, calm focus, and gentle movement. Sira whimpered sometimes, but she didn't pull away. She watched him with wide eyes, as if trying to understand why a human was helping her at all. Minutes turned into an hour. Elias barely noticed his exhaustion anymore. He kept working, adjusting, stabilizing, comforting. Slowly, the flickering in Sira's implants steadied. Her breathing eased. Her eyes grew less panicked. Finally, Elias sat back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "There," he said softly. "That's better." Sira blinked slowly. "Hurts less." Elias smiled. "Good. You're safe." She studied his face, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "Humans," she whispered. "You help." Elias chuckled softly. "It's my job, and, well, you needed someone." Sira curled closer to him, finally able to rest. She looked small and peaceful now, not the frightened creature he had first seen. Elias watched her for a long moment. He had come to check one last patient. Instead, he had found a crying baby dragon who could speak, a child caught in war, a living being asking for help. And he had helped her. He didn't know what the Drakari would think of this. He didn't know what would happen when they learned a human touched their sacred implants. He didn't know how dangerous it might be. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, Sira was safe. And Elias, exhausted as he was, felt something warm in his chest, a reminder of why humanity sent medics to the farthest parts of the galaxy. Because when someone cried for help, humans answered. The lights in Quarantine Room 19 were soft and warm now, casting a gentle glow on the small, curled body of the Drakari hatchling. Sira slept lightly, her breathing still uneven but far calmer than before. Elias stood beside the bed, adjusting the last cooling patch on her back, careful not to disturb her. His own knees felt weak. Exhaustion finally pressed down on him like a heavy weight. He checked the readings again. The implant stability had risen from critical to fragile. Not perfect, not safe, but at least not collapsing anymore. Elias sighed. "You're hanging in there, little one." He stepped back and sat on the small stool beside the bed. He wasn't sure if he had the strength to stand again. He looked at Sira, feeling a strange protectiveness, one he wasn't used to showing. He had treated many patients, but this felt different. Maybe because she was young. Maybe because she had spoken. Maybe because she had asked him for help in a voice that still echoed in his mind. He rubbed his eyes. 2 days without proper rest. No wonder everything felt heavier. Just as he leaned back to rest his head against the wall, Sira's eyes fluttered open. Her violet pupils glowed faintly as she slowly lifted her head. Elias?" Her voice was clearer this time, less broken, though still small. Elias straightened. "Hey, you're awake. How do you feel?" Sira blinked, trying to understand her own condition. "Warm, not cold. Still hurts, but not like before." "That's good." Elias smiled gently. "I did what I could to stabilize your implants. They were overloading." Sira frowned in confusion. "Overloading? It means they were giving your body too much energy," Elias explained in simple terms. "Your mind and nerves are not grown enough yet to control them." Sira looked away, almost ashamed. Weak?" Elias shook his head firmly. "No, not weak, just young. Even human children can't use adult machines safely." Sira blinked again. She seemed to think about that deeply. Then she looked at him, truly looked, like she was seeing him for the first time. "You help me," she whispered. It wasn't a question. It was a soft statement full of confusion and wonder. Elias nodded. "Of course." "But Drakari and humans fight," Sira said slowly. "Why you help enemy?" Elias sighed. He knew this question would come. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "You're not my enemy, Sira. You're a child who was hurt. That's enough reason." Sira tilted her head, confused. Enough reason? Yes. Elias smiled tiredly. Humans don't leave children to suffer, not if we can help. The hatchling's eyes softened. She shifted her wings and pressed closer to the blanket. She watched him closely, like she was trying to understand something very important. After a quiet moment, she asked in a soft voice, "You stay here?" Elias hesitated. He should have been asleep by now. He should have been off duty already. But seeing her frightened eyes reminded him of those first moments when she cried for help. "Yes," he said finally, "I'll stay with you." Sira relaxed, her tail curling around herself. "Thank you." Elias gave her a gentle smile, but inside his mind, worry began to form like a shadow. The Drakari were extremely protective of their young. If they found out a human medic had touched a hatchling's implants, let alone treated them, they wouldn't be calm. The Drakari considered their tech sacred, private, and too advanced for other species to understand. Even accidental contact could spark diplomatic problems. He sighed again. "One step at a time," he whispered. Sira watched his face, sensing something. "You scared?" Elias smiled sadly. "Not scared. Just thinking." "About what?" "About how to keep you safe," he said honestly. Sira blinked slowly. "You want to keep me safe?" "Yes." His voice was soft. "I promised, didn't I?" Sira lowered her head onto the blanket again. "No one promised before." Elias's heart clenched. He didn't know much about Drakari parenting, but his instincts told him that a hatchling should not ever feel abandoned like this. He placed a hand gently on the edge of the blanket, not touching her scales directly, but close enough for her to feel his presence. "You're not alone now," he said quietly. Sira made a small sound, a mix between a sigh and a soft chirp. It sounded like relief. A troubling discovery. After a few minutes of calm silence, Elias returned to the scanner. He needed to recheck the data now that Sira was awake. As he ran the device over her side, the display flashed with warnings. Neural feedback rising, implant thread instability increasing again, structural misalignment. His expression darkened. "This isn't a normal malfunction," he murmured. Sira looked up. "What wrong?" Elias sat beside her again. "Sira, these implants, they were not installed correctly. Whoever attached them did it too early." Sira blinked in confusion. "But hatchlings get implants always. It's tradition." "Yes, but usually older hatchlings," Elias said. "Your body is too small, too young." Sira lowered her head. "Clan needed strong warriors. They say battle coming soon." Elias felt anger burn in his tired veins, though he kept it hidden. He knew war made people desperate, but forcing advanced implants on a child was beyond reckless. "That doesn't matter now," he said gently. "What matters is keeping you alive." Sira looked at him with wide, trusting eyes. "You help again?" "Always." But before he could start adjusting her implants further, the room's intercom beeped sharply. "Medic Rourke, report your status. We need an update on the unidentified juvenile." Elias closed his eyes for a moment. He recognized the voice. Commander Ralden, not a man known for patience. He pressed the comm button. "Rourke here. Hatchling is stable but needs continued care." The commander paused. "Hatchling? As in Drakari?" "Yes." Another long pause, then, "Stay exactly where you are. We're coming down." Elias swallowed. That didn't sound like good news. Sira lifted her head, sensing danger. "Who that? Why voice loud?" Elias tried to calm her. "They're just my commanders. They want to check on you." Sira trembled. "Humans! Angry!" "No," Elias said firmly, even though he wasn't sure. "No one will hurt you. I won't allow it." Sira pressed her wings against her sides. She believed him, but fear still shimmered in her eyes. Commander Ralden arrives. 5 minutes later, heavy footsteps echoed down the quarantine corridor. Sira tensed immediately, her tail coiling tightly around her body. Elias stood up, placing himself between the door and the bed. The door opened. Commander Ralden stepped inside with 2 armored security officers. His sharp eyes moved from Elias to the small figure on the bed. His jaw tightened. So the rumors were true. Elias took a breath. Commander, she's just a child, injured and scared. Ralden stepped closer, keeping a strict military posture. Do you understand what you've done, Rourke? A Drakari hatchling is more politically dangerous than a crate of fusion grenades. She was dying, Elias said strongly. I made a decision. A decision that may start an incident, Ralden replied. Sira let out a small, frightened sound, shrinking back under the blanket. Elias turned sharply. You're scaring her. Ralden paused. His expression softened just a little. Is she intelligent enough to understand? Yes, Elias said. More than you think. Ralden exhaled slowly. Very well. But there's another problem. He tapped a device on his wrist. A hologram flickered on, showing a message. Draconic signature detected. Drakari vessels approaching. ETA. 3 hours. Elias felt the room grow colder. Ralden continued. They detected a missing hatchling. They think we captured her. Sira whimpered softly, understanding enough to feel terrified. My clan. Coming? Elias knelt beside her again. It's okay. We'll explain. Ralden looked at Elias. Explain? The Drakari do not negotiate when it comes to their young. They may think we harmed her. They may attack. Elias placed his hand gently near Sira. Then we show them the truth. Sira stared at him, eyes full of fear and hope all at once. You protect Sira? Elias nodded without hesitation. Yes, I promised. Sira's small claws curled into the blanket. Then I trust. I trust you, Elias. Ralden stared at the 2 of them, surprise flickering across his face. She trusts a human? Yes, Elias answered. Because humans help those who ask. Ralden exhaled again. Then we prepare for the Drakari arrival. And hope your compassion doesn't get us all burned. Elias stood up. It won't. I'll make sure of it. Sira whispered softly. Elias, stay with me? He looked at her tired eyes and nodded. I'm not leaving. As the commander exited, Sira curled closer to Elias. The fear in her chest slowly eased, not because the situation was safe, but because the human medic had promised to stand by her, and humans keep their promises. The countdown clock on Astra 7 seemed to tick louder with every passing second. Only 1 hour remained before the Drakari ships arrived. The entire station felt tense, like a single wrong move could break everything. Humans hurried through the halls, speaking in worried whispers, checking shields, preparing emergency plans. But inside Quarantine Room 19, the world was much quieter. Elias stood beside Sira's bed, adjusting her blanket for the 5th time, even though it didn't really need adjusting. He was too on edge to sit still. His eyes kept flicking to the door, then back to Sira, then to the monitors. The hatchling watched him with tired but trusting eyes. Every time he looked anxious, she shifted closer, as if her tiny presence could calm him. Elias, she said softly. You worried? He let out a slow breath. A bit. Your people are coming soon. Sira curled her tail. Clan angry? Maybe not angry, Elias said gently. But they might think we hurt you. They don't know the truth yet. Sira lowered her head. I tell them. I say you save me. He smiled sadly. I hope they listen. Sira reached a shaky claw toward him, not touching, just trying to be close. I with you. Those 3 simple words warmed his chest more than he expected. He placed his hand near hers, not quite touching her scales, but close enough for comfort. "You're very brave, Sira." She blinked slowly. "Only because you hear." Before Elias could answer, the station intercom crackled. "All personnel, Drakari vessels entering approach range. Prepare for contact." Sira tensed immediately. Her wings pressed tight to her sides. Elias gently touched the edge of her blanket again. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm right here." The arrival. When the Drakari ships appeared on the outer sensors, the entire station went silent. Their vessels were massive, dark metal shaped like wings folded over glowing cores. Energy shimmered around them like a living aura. They looked less like machines and more like giant creatures drifting through space. Elias knew this was no simple visit. This was a show of strength. A warning that they could tear Astra 7 apart if they believed their young was harmed. Commander Ralden sent a message to all staff. "Hold positions. No aggression. Do not provoke." Inside the quarantine wing, the security lights changed color, soft blue for peaceful protocol. Sira watched the shifting lights and whispered, "My clan. Here." Elias nodded. "Yes. But what if they take me away?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Elias knelt beside her. "They might want to, but you'll be safe. And I will speak for you." "You speak for me?" she asked in wonder. "Yes. If they think humans harmed you, I'll explain what happened." Sira's violet eyes shimmered. "You brave too." He gave a small, tired smile. "Not brave, just doing what's right." Before Sira could answer, the door slid open. Commander Ralden stepped inside with a tense expression. "They've sent a landing party," he said. "High-ranking, and they want to see the hatchling immediately." Sira shrank back. Elias brushed a hand near her blanket. "It's okay." Ralden looked between them, then spoke more quietly. "Rourke, be careful. Drakari don't react like humans. Their emotions are sharp, strong, sudden." "I understand," Elias said. Ralden sighed. "And for what it's worth? Good luck." Elias nodded. Then the door opened again, and this time, it wasn't humans entering. The Dragon Delegation 3 Drakari stepped through the doorway. They were huge, far larger than any human could be. Their bodies were armored with shining scales, each plate glowing faintly with built-in tech. Their eyes burned with intense color, and their wings folded neatly at their sides like living shields. At their front stood a dragon with deep obsidian scales and glowing red circuitry across his chest. His presence filled the room with pressure. Even Commander Ralden stepped back instinctively. This was Archon Valther, a Drakari leader. Elias felt the air tighten around him. Even Sira held her breath. The Archon's voice echoed like a vibrating drum. "Where is the hatchling?" Sira whimpered softly. Elias moved aside, revealing her on the bed. The three dragons stared. Their eyes widened. The glowing lines on their armor pulsed faster. Sira tried to speak, but only a weak cry came out. Valther stepped forward, anger burning behind his eyes. "What have you done to her?" Elias raised his hands calmly. "I treated her injuries." Her implants were failing. One of the other dragons snarled low. "You touched our sacred tech?" "I saved her life," Elias said firmly. Valther lowered his head, bringing his massive face inches from Elias. The dragon's breath was hot, carrying the scent of metal and ozone. "Human! You dare claim that?" Elias didn't step back. He didn't flinch. "She was dying when she arrived here. Her implants were overheating. Her nerves were failing. I stabilized her." The dragons glared. Then, a small voice rose from behind Elias. "Valther!" The Archon froze. Sira pushed herself up slowly. Her wings trembled, her body weak but her eyes steady. Valther stepped closer to her. "Sira, little one." His voice softened, almost breaking. Sira looked at him with a mixture of fear and trust. Elias saved me. The room went silent. He helped? Valther repeated slowly, as if the idea sounded impossible. Sira nodded. If no Elias, Sira gone. The dragons exchanged stunned looks. Valther shifted his gaze to Elias again, but now the anger was gone. Confusion remained. You helped a Drakari child, he said quietly. Yes, Elias replied, because she needed help. Valther lowered his head, studying Elias with new eyes. Even though our clans are in conflict, Elias nodded. She's not part of the conflict. She's a child. Sira made a soft chirping sound. He promised to keep me safe. The Archon's eyes widened further. The glow from his implants dimmed in surprise. You trust him? Valther asked her. Yes, Sira whispered. More than pain, more than fear. Valther's chest rose slowly. He looked at Elias differently now, not as an enemy, but as something confusing and unexpected. You are unusual, human. Elias huffed a tired laugh. I've heard that before. A test of the truth. Valther moved closer to the bed, his giant form surprisingly gentle. He inspected Sira's implants, scanning them with a glowing device built into his claws. His expression shifted from confusion to shock. This stabilization method, it is not Drakari design. No, it's human improvisation, Elias said. I had to think fast. Valther looked at him, bewildered. You used cooling fields, nanogel, and manual node alignment? Yes. The Archon blinked slowly. Our healers would never attempt such risky methods. They work, Elias said simply. Valther stared at Sira again. She leaned weakly toward Elias, seeking comfort. The Archon saw that. He watched carefully. And then he stepped back. You risked your life for her, Valther said, more statement than question. She asked for help, Elias replied. Valther let out a deep, thoughtful rumble. The other dragons looked unsettled, unsure what their leader was thinking. Then Valther spoke. For this act, human, you have earned Drakari honor. Elias blinked, confused. Honor? Sira lifted her head. First flame? Honor? Yes, Valther said. Given only to those who protect our young without expecting reward. Elias rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. I didn't do it for a reward. Exactly, Valther replied. And that is why it means something. Sira looked up at Elias with bright eyes. You hero. Elias chuckled softly. I'm just a medic. Valther stepped back and signaled to the other dragons. We will speak with your commanders, he said. There will be no battle today. Elias exhaled deeply. Relief washed through his tired body. As the dragons turned to leave, Sira called softly, Valther, please, I stay? The Archon paused. You wish to remain with the human? Sira nodded. For now, he helped me more. Valther looked at Elias with curiosity. Do you accept responsibility for her care? Elias nodded. Yes. Then we will return soon, and we will talk of peace. The dragons left the room, the doors sliding shut behind them. Sira let out a long breath and curled against the blanket. Elias, they listen. Yes, he whispered. They listened because of you. Because of you, Sira corrected softly. You stay, even when scared. Elias smiled, exhaustion finally settling in. I promised. Sira closed her eyes. And for the first time since she arrived, she looked truly safe. When the Drakari delegation left Quarantine Room 19, the silence felt strange, heavy, but hopeful. For the first time since Sira arrived, the air no longer felt tense with danger. Instead, it was filled with something new, a sense of change, like the future was shifting quietly around them. Elias sank onto the stool beside Sira's bed. His legs trembled with exhaustion. He had been awake for almost 50 hours now, but he couldn't rest yet. His mind was still spinning from what just happened. He had stood face to face with an Archon of the Drakari. He had defended a hatchling. He had been thanked for saving her life, and somehow he had avoided a war. Sira watched him with bright but sleepy eyes. "Elias, okay?" He smiled tiredly. "I'm fine. Just really tired." "You rest," she whispered. "I safe now." Elias shook his head gently. "I will rest, but not until I know everything is settled." Sira shifted closer to him, her small tail brushing the blanket. "You always stay." "Of course," Elias said softly. "I promised." Sira curled up again, feeling calmer than ever. She had seen her clan arrive in full power, and yet she had chosen to stay with the human medic who saved her. That choice alone would echo through both species. The meeting begins. Outside the quarantine wing, Commander Ralden and several officers stood in the main hall, facing Velther and his delegation. The atmosphere was tense but not hostile. The dragon stood tall, wings folded, glowing circuits humming softly. Ralden cleared his throat. "Archon Velther, thank you for agreeing to talk," Velther's deep voice echoed. "We came ready for battle, but instead we found our hatchling alive because of your human." Ralden nodded. "Elias Rourke is one of our best medics." Velther's eyes glowed brighter. "He risked much. He touched sacred implant tech. He took responsibility for a child not his own. This is uncommon among humans?" Ralden hesitated. "It is common for humans to help those in need, even enemies, especially children." Velther tilted his head. "Strange species, brave hearts." Ralden almost smiled. "We try." One of the Drakari warriors stepped forward. "Our hive believed the humans captured the hatchling during the battle." Ralden shook his head. "She was found alone in the battlefield ruins. We did not know who she belonged to." Velther studied the human commander carefully. "We sense truth." Then, slowly, the Archon lowered his wings, a sign of peace. "We offer thanks," Velther said, "and we wish to understand humanity better, after seeing how your medic protected Sira." Ralden exhaled with relief. "We would welcome that." At that moment, the future between humans and Drakari shifted. The claws of war loosened. The walls between them softened. And it all began with a tired medic saving a scared hatchling. Back in the quarantine room, Sira perked her head up as Elias readjusted the scanner. Her implants were still unstable, but they were improving. The worst danger had passed. "Elias," she said softly, "you think my clan let me stay with you longer?" He paused mid-adjustment. "Do you want to stay?" Sira nodded slowly. "You make pain go away, and you speak gentle. I feel safe." Elias's chest warmed. "I'm glad, but your clan loves you too. They came all this way to find you." Sira lowered her head. "I know, but they strong, busy, always training. No time for small hatchlings." Elias frowned gently. "They care. They just have a different way of showing it." Sira blinked up at him. "Like you show care with hands and voice?" "Yes," Elias said softly. "Different people, different ways." Sira thought about that for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Still, I want stay until I healed." Elias smiled. "That I can agree with." Velther visits. A soft knock echoed at the door. Elias turned just as it slid open. To his surprise, Velther stood there, huge, silent, filling the room with his powerful presence. He crouched down, lowering his massive head so he didn't hit the ceiling. Sira's eyes widened. "Velther." The Archon rested his claws on the floor gently. "Little one, I am glad to see color back in your eyes," Sira chirped softly. "Elias saved me." I have seen, Velther said. We owe him much. Elias raised a hand modestly. I just did what anyone would. No, Velther corrected. Not anyone, not even our healers would attempt what you did. Elias shrugged. Well, humans improvise a lot. Velther let out a deep rumble that almost sounded like a laugh. Then your improvisation saved a life. Syra shifted. Velther, can I stay here? With Elias? Until healed? Velther's eyes softened, something few Drakari ever showed. Yes, Elias has proven he can care for you. And peace grows from understanding. Sira's wings fluttered with relief. Elias blinked. You're sure? Yes, Velther said. You have earned the honor of the first flame, a rare gift. Few outside the Drakari ever receive it. Elias rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I don't know what to say. Velther leaned in. Say nothing. Simply continue what you already do. Then he added, Take care of her. I will, Elias said without hesitation. Velther nodded once and stepped back, leaving the room with an air of dignity. A quiet moment. Hours passed. The station slowly relaxed. Humans and Drakari walked the halls side by side for the first time ever, sharing conversations, scans, and even small cultural gestures. It felt unreal. Meanwhile, in room 19, Elias finally allowed himself to lean back against the wall and close his eyes for a moment. His body felt heavy, but peaceful. Sira watched him carefully. Elias. Sleep now? He chuckled softly. Maybe I can. Just for a little. Sira curled next to him, her head resting near his leg. She looked comfortable and safe. You rest, she said. I guard you now. Elias opened one eye. You're going to guard me? Sira puffed up slightly, proud. Yes, you protect me. Now I protect you. He smiled. Thank you, Sira. Her tail tapped gently on the bed. You good human. Elias snorted. I try. The new dawn. Later that day, Commander Ralden entered the room, paused when he saw Sira curled near Elias's side, and then let out a small, astonished breath. I heard the Drakari want to begin peace discussions, Ralden said softly. Elias, still sleepy, nodded. Really? Really? Ralden smiled. And they want you present as an advisor, Rourke, the medic who changed everything. Elias blinked slowly. Me? Why? Sira answered before Ralden could. Because Elias has heart of fire. Ralden chuckled. Couldn't have said it better. Elias rubbed his eyes and sat up straighter. All right. If it helps keep peace, I'll be there. Ralden nodded. Good. Get some rest first. The commander left, leaving the two alone again. Sira nudged Elias gently. Elias? You help make peace? He shrugged modestly. Maybe a little. No, Sira insisted. Much. Very much. Elias gave her a tired smile. If humans and Drakari understand each other better, then I'm glad. Sira's voice became soft, almost like a whisper. You save one hatchling and save many lives. Elias placed a hand beside her. You give me too much credit. Sira curled up once more. Credit true. She rested her head and closed her eyes. Elias leaned back, letting his eyes fall shut as well. The room was warm, calm, and quiet. For the first time in days, his body relaxed completely. A tiny dragon rested peacefully beside him. A new peace formed between two powerful species. And all of it began with a single promise. I'm here. I'll help you. As Elias drifted into sleep, Sira whispered softly, almost like a lullaby. Elias, hero,